Witness, would you say there to Argentina's best performance yet?
Convincing performance, I would say. None of the Argentina games have been hugely impressive throughout the whole 90 minutes. I think they've always had spells, they had moments. They've been growing into this tournament. Today was perhaps the most complete performance in terms of the result. But if you look at the first half, there's an argument that they were outplayed for large spells of it. I'm not sure it was all by design. They scored through 2 counterattacks, which isn't really their game, but was very effective. And it brought to mind something I read today by Tobias Escher, who's one of the analysts on Spielverlagerung in Germany, who said this Croatia team are very good at not losing, but they're not very good at winning. And of course, he was referencing their record of results, but also I thought in the game, because they were winning sort of the contest in the first half. They were the better side, I thought. Argentina looked very passive, very open, but Croatia just couldn't find that last or even the penultimate pass to make that count, that territorial advantage that they had and the possession that they had. And then they got hit on 2 counterattacks, and certainly the second one was a bit of a freak goal from their perspective, because you have 2 challengers coming in and twice the ball just bounces into Alvarez's path and he takes full advantage. But yeah, Argentina are a good side, taken to great moments through a certain player that we might have mentioned once or twice over the course of the last 3 weeks.
Hey, this business of Croatia not being very good at winning. They only won 1 game over 90 or 120 minutes even to get to this semi-final.
Or even ahead. I mean, that was the only game they even led in.
The Canada game.
Yeah.
But Argentina, for that early kind of stalemate where neither side was really making any chances, Croatia did venture upfield, and then Argentina were very smart on hitting them once, twice on the break. So the first goal, which unlocked the match, which set everything rolling in Argentina's direction, there was a lot of hoo-ha at half-time about whether Argentina should have been given the penalty, from whence Messi put them in the lead.
It was a penalty. There's a weird thing. There are 2 weird things in football. One is that if you pass the ball and someone comes steaming into you, it's obviously a foul.
Right.
But if you shoot, people are kind of like, and then someone steams into you, we're like, well, got the shot away, so can't possibly be a foul.
Was the line of the pundits, though, that he hadn't steamed into him, he just stood his ground?
I don't think so. I think he makes a movement towards the player.
Right.
And also the other weird thing is that goalkeepers are kind of have license to do that sort of thing.
How did you feel about Messi and the way he dispatched that spot kick?
The penalty was incredible, though, because it is quite a high-risk pen to hit it.
What kind of pen was it?
Well, he blasted it into the corner of the net. And we saw from a certain Harry Kane until recently what can go wrong if that is your approach.
Yeah.
The upside is if you hit it that well, there is literally no chance a goalkeeper can save it.
Even Messi, I mean, remember 10 years ago now against Chelsea, one of his famous penalty misses, he struck one like that and it smacked off the crossbar in that semi-final, which Barca went on to lose to Chelsea. So he's got history.
It's his 5th penalty at this World Cup. He's scored 4 of them.
Including the shootout one.
Right, against the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
Duncan Alexander reporting that between Lionel Messi and Harry Kane, those pair have taken 4% of all penalties awarded in World Cup history.
Sounds about right.
4% of all penalties awarded in World Cup history. World Cup's been going on since, the 30s? Wow. Well, so that was the first goal. And then really soon afterwards, Julian Alvarez, who had quite the game, went on that extraordinary run while Croatia kind of basically imploded around him. It was like one of those, when you see the hero running through an exploding landscape and kind of smokestacks are collapsing on either side.
It came from a corner, I think.
It did, yeah.
And usually you'd expect Croatia to have a decent defence there. The problem was that the 2 challengers that went in didn't do enough. Usually you'd think one of the 2 will be sufficient to win the ball, or the ball bounces off someone but by some kind of freakish combination of circumstances, it just twice fell into Alvarez's path, and then it was an easy finish for him. But the run was still great,
epic
by itself.
Yeah, it was, because the wind in his hair, the cries of "pass it to the man on your left."
Yeah,
ringing
exactly.
out.
Pass it on the man as I was demanding, foolishly as it turned out, because he had a better idea. But yeah, it was very un-Croatia goal to concede.
It was, although that was when Argentina scored, there was a relief, and I said, hopefully this means Croatia, albeit they were already attacking, but you hoped, okay, they're going to have to push out now. And so it proved from that. But it's interesting as well, James, talk about it being like a film. I mean, the last challenge reminded me of a kind of football film where they always get it wrong and players make these really unrealistic, unconvincing attempts at a tackle. And that's what the last one looked like. It's kind of flailing over and collapsing to the ground. It was pretty ropey.
What kind of movie would the Messi maneuver on?
Wow.
On Guardiola for the third goal be?
It'd be one of those old school effects where you speed up the film a little bit.
Nice. So he takes possession of the ball out by sort of vaguely out by the kind of right hand corner, and Guardiola's there, highly rated young defender, and then.
Well, I mean, it's Messi right at the beginning of his career. Do you remember he used to play on the right, cutting in, which we don't see so much of now. I mean, he drops so deep and he moves all over the pitch. But yeah, here he was in that inside right channel, and he stops him a few times and then goes again. The little shimmy with the shoulder, just absolutely world class against, as we've heard so much about, one of the most promising defenders in world football.
15 years his junior as well.
Wow, yeah.
Which there is a point at which the knees don't quite have quite the same explosivity.
Well, especially as he was walking around, even in the first half, looking like he was carrying an injury. He was definitely playing within himself. There were a couple of times it was comical where pass was played up a channel and he's like, I mean, guys, come on. I'm obviously not going to run after that.
I think the effect is so extraordinary because you're not really conditioned to seeing a team playing with just 10 men, effectively. It just doesn't seem to be possible in 2022 to win games at a high level like that anymore. I'm not sure you could do it in the Champions League, but maybe at the World Cup where the quality is a little bit lower, the teams are not quite as in tune with themselves and the pace is a little bit lower, maybe you can still do it. But I don't think he'd be able to play so passively, shall we say, or so efficiently playing for PSG in the Champions League, for example. But here it works, and that scene was just a sort of the cherry on the cake, as we say in Germany, not the icing, the cherry. Because it was just the thing that made this semi-final the Messi show. Up until then, Messi played well, Alvarez was playing well, but that moment, I think, will be the moment that we'll all think about when it comes to celebrating Argentina's runners-up spot in this competition.
On that, he sets up, you may have mentioned this, but he doesn't actually score the third goal, but he sets up Julian Alvarez and then Bosch.
But guys, that's such a good point, I think, Rafa makes there about the fact that you just can't really get away with passengers in elite Champions League football. And one of the reasons I've really enjoyed this tournament is because we're so used to seeing teams like Man City who are so efficient in everything they do. It's often very mechanical. It's been quite refreshing to see teams that are really flawed, and I thought Argentina were a bit more coherent tonight, but often they have looked a little bit like they're doing it on the fly. It's been a lot more interesting, I think, than often the Champions League is for that reason.
Hello there. If you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to this channel? And if you'd like more Totally Football Show content, then just search for us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Not an Athletic subscriber yet? Then just head to theathletic.com/totally to find out our latest entry offer.